What stories are we telling now that people are buying into about the future? When I look around, I see really negative ones. We want to pioneer and innovate on that front of, can we create large cultural stories that everybody loves that makes you want to go back to movie theaters again? Founded the company in July, and the sole one-year goal of the company was create Planet. I would say the first 6 months, 95% of my time was spent on just making sure we didn't go bankrupt. And so as a result, I had very little time to write the script. Then I remember going to my chief of staff, Maxie, one day and being like, okay, what if we just said we were going to film the movie in 3 weeks? She was like, fuck no, absolutely not. End of the week goes by and I'm like, we can't do it. Now she's flipped and she's like, we're doing it.
This is Jason Carman, and he is the founder of Story Company. And he is moments away from releasing his first short film, Planet, which is about a guy that builds a planet. I know that this is like years in the making. How are you feeling right now?
Well, it's about 56 hours of straight editing with maybe 4 hours of sleep. So I feel alive.
Yeah.
For now. It's such a surreal feeling for so many reasons. I've been wanting to do this since I was 9. And since I graduated high school and started working full time, been wanting to make a short film to prove that we could make like a big feature film one day since I was 18. I'm 25 now. So I was a little behind schedule, but my God, I'm so happy with what we've made. We'll release it online in a few days. It's a big scope film, and we have some other really exciting announcements tonight. We sold out this theater, which is nuts to me because it's 900 people, and I thought we would maybe be lucky to get 500.
That's crazy.
So we're incredibly excited. We're here at the Palace of Fine Arts, the most beautiful building in San Francisco, where the last scene of the movie was shot, and which is so cool because the Palace of Fine Arts was built in 1917 for the World Fair, and is this just the most unique building in San Francisco, I think. And we wanted it to have this. For a sci-fi movie, there's not a lot of locations you can use that you don't have to build. Like for the next film we're doing, we're like getting ready to build physical sets. Like we're literally renting out a bunch of warehouse space to start building a Millennium Falcon-sized spaceship for a set.
Amazing.
And normally you have to build it. But for this one, we wanted to, the whole film is about this man, Dr. Evren Khan, and his vision to build an artificial planet. When the government requests they build an orbital supercomputer, he says, we can, but it's pretty big. And if you put a little extra effort, maybe more than a little extra effort, you could give it an atmosphere and then have a secondary planet near Earth. And so that's what the film is about. And it's about this big, grand, beautiful attempt to do great things, which I think you and I both can relate to. Because for me, Dr. Khan in this film is the epitome of like what S3 was for me for the past 2 years. It's like everything that S3 was, the combined sort of median ethos I got from every founder, engineer, and scientist is in this movie. And I mean, there's actually people in S3 in the movie. There's like 5 cameos. And so to be premiering a film about building things for the sake of beauty and building the future in a building like this, it's so special.
Why was this particular story the right one to start with?
So I was filming S3. It was the most burnt out weekend of my life, filming S3 in Montreal. We were filming with Fuse, Extropic, a few other companies. I mean, Fuse out there is just amazing. The facility that they built is nuts, and how much they've done is nuts. And I had some extra time, so I was walking around old Montreal looking at the sky. Literally, I was like, I'm here to film these startups, and I'm here to come back home with the sci-fi story. Because I knew it's like, we have to make this sort of minimum viable product almost to show that we can make a feature film. And we could just go make a feature film. And we thought about it. But what you can't as easily do is make a feature film on the scale that we want to, in terms of the amount of visual effects shots, the CGI, the cast, the wardrobe, just the scale of the movie without a larger budget. And we still think we can do it at like a 50th, 100th the cost. That's kind of our whole economic argument for making movies better and more efficient, which I can go into. There's a whole diatribe about why it's actually better for the art to do that. And I was there in Montreal and I was looking at the sky, and the moon was particularly bigger in the sky that night. It was brighter. I was just so captivated by it. I was like emotional, kind of standing around buildings in old Montreal that looked a lot like the Palace of Fine Arts, this sort of old stone look. And I remember thinking, I was like, man, it looks so cool if there's a second one right next to it, like a second larger planet. That would just be beautiful. And I'm like, oh, what a beautiful sci-fi vision. Forgot about it. Came up with 2 other really bad short film ideas that weekend. One of them was like Intel commercial vibes. I had read something like, I think I had like reread the Mark Andreessen's Techno-Optimist Manifesto and was like, yeah. Like, and this could be a short film. And it was a cool idea, but it just felt like a hype reel, which, hey, we ended up making for Andreessen Horowitz anyway. They hired us later that year to make basically something similar. Although, funny known lore, we had a much cooler video in the works for A16Z that at the last moment they canned because they wanted something that was more NASCAR. which I actually agree with because the final thing is a banger. So Catherine, I'm not throwing shade here. It's amazing. But there was like an Art Deco one that we were doing because they sent us the logo before it came out. And I think the logo drop would have gone better had they let us make that original mood. It's really cool. Maybe one day they'll let us do it. Anyways, and then I was flying home and I was like, that image of the second planet in the sky was still in my mind. And the scene between the protagonist when he's young, who's the sort of Oppenheimer-esque engineer, likes metal, likes megastructures. He's like a boy, just boy core, founder core.
Loving awesome stuff.
Gundo core wants to build giant space imperium based. But then he's talking to a girl on the ship and they're on like a mission. The idea was like maybe his funding got cut. And so it's on this astrobiology mission to find other good homes for humanity. And the fundamental issue with this is without light speed travel, we're not going to get to another home within a, millennia. So, okay, we got Mars and the moon. Okay, fine. And so that core scene, the romance that the two of them had, I just fell in love with. This sort of like the woman feminine version of like what the boy core build would look like is maybe more of like a similar build the future idea, but like maybe instead of just industrializing Mars, we're also terraforming it and making it feel in trying to grow things and use biology. And not to say that like biology is for women and building is for men. I don't mean that at all. But like that's just kind of where my brain went with this scene, and that they're polar opposites, they're yin and yang, yet they still have this like love for each other that's really deep. And that really, I think I cried while I was riding on the plane, like quietly. I don't think I annoyed anyone near me because that'd be so weird. Crying on planes is tough because everyone around you is like, oh God, they're crying. It wasn't obvious.
You hid the tears.
I hid the tears. I was like, this is so good. And then that core story between the two of these people. And then I was like, as we were landing, I was like, what if she died? And what if that catalyzes him to kind of have the merger of their dream, which is building an artificial planet. It's using the megastructure, big metal stuff, but you're creating an atmosphere, which is a biological endeavor. And an atmospheric endeavor. And so that's where the core story came from, I think over a year and a half ago, roughly. Yeah.
I know you have this line that I really love where you say that, story inspires science and science kind of leads to story or whatever. Even when we first met, you were like, I really want to kind of like inspire the world to build things.
Yeah.
How are you thinking about things now?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, it's been awesome to see you pick up the mantle on the interviews and do it so much better than me in terms of the energy you bring, the lighting quality. It's awesome. And I love that. So thank you. And well, all I could say is that stories, nonfiction projects are only expanding, and we have some really exciting announcements coming in the next few months. And YouTube and Twitter won't be the only place that you get to watch our stuff in the very near future. And I think at the end of the day, the motto is story inspires science, science makes story real. And that's this idea that like the sci-fi visions that people write that are potentially tractable on, on a scale, one day eventually get built if they sort of win. And by win, like, what does it mean to have that thing win? And I think it means that society and the culture of a given time falls in love with the idea and wants to make it real. And the stories that we tell, the myths, storytelling was such a big part of culture back in the day. And I think up until maybe before mass media and the internet, it was even bigger. But then like maybe 50 or so years ago, technology, which is great, kind of came in and really took that away in many ways and has made it hard for us to have good unifying stories. Star Wars is an example, maybe the Avengers is an example, Harry Potter, but they're far and few between. But before then, story wasn't just like it was everything. It meant so much to people. And so what I wonder is what stories are we telling now that people are buying into about the future? And when I look around, I see really negative ones. I see very pessimistic ones that put other people down and lift others up. And I see ones that paint a horrible, dark vision of the future.
Like victimized,
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't actually mean so specifically, but I just mean that like the movies we make about the future in sci-fi, oftentimes you think dark, you think Black Mirror.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike the show, actually. Like, I think it's a great show. But the reason there's so much more negative movies that are popular and are hits is because our negativity bias enables us to enjoy a horror movie or a negative film more easily. And as a filmmaker, let me tell you, making something negative and dark and bad is so much easier than making a bright, optimistic, inspiring film, because then it's just optimism slop.
Yeah.
So for us, we want to pioneer and innovate on that front of, can we create large cultural stories that everybody loves, that makes you want to go back to movie theaters again and see things on the big screen, because you want to see what happens when Thanos snaps his finger, when Luke confronts his father. You want to be in that room with your people and like your society and your like the people that are in your area. And we have such little community today. And I think movies are such a pillar part of that. And like at Story, I think we just want to see like the theater like view rate, which has just gone down, of people attending theaters, just tick back up again. Because it's such an important thing. You can't use your phone in a movie theater. You can't be loud and obnoxious. You have to focus. Like your sensory overload, it's dark and then movie screen. And the value of that, I think, is just so huge. And at the end of the day, we want to be the company that when you go to see one of our movies in theaters, you know that we're the same people that are filming the real scientists and engineers, and you can go online and watch their films and see the parallels. And it directly inspires us. I mean, Planet, literally, the story would not be what it is had we not made S3 and done some of the other documentaries we've done the past year, from our new space film, from some computing stuff we did, films that we made, some that aren't released, directly inspired the way that we approach the science and engineering document. There's a 20-page engineering document that we actually had made a long time ago, but we actually got it like formalized this week. Shout out to Steven from SpaceX who helped put that together this past week. But like we want the boundary between the sci-fi and the reality to be minimal and to see the overlap. And we want people to be excited about the future again. Young people, I think on average, are very negative and pessimistic about the future for a good reason. The stories we're telling and the reality we're living in, it's the best time ever to be alive. It's also the most risky time ever to be alive. And I think to see us through that, we need better stories.
For this, you can't just go to a movie theater like once every year or every other year and kind of like change the cultural zeitgeist. How are you going to kind of scale up your teams and story in order to put out multiple movies a year, that kind of thing?
I actually think that it's a good question. I actually think that, well, I would love to personally make one movie a year for a while, which is an immense task. Most directors, I think, end up doing one movie every 2 to 3 years. I would like to do more than that, but I actually think it's better to do less and nail them every time than to just have a ton. I want to get our core trilogy. Well, this will come out after the announcement tonight, but the big announcement tonight is that we are already moving into our next project, which is a full feature-length film, but it's not one, it's 3. And it is the first film in a trilogy set that is Story's first cinematic universe, which will be a universe that lasts for
as long as the company.
Longer. Right? We're writing like outlines and kind of narrative plans, like a scaffolding, if you will, for future people that will pick up the writing and storytelling, so that the stories can kind of continue on. And we just got to nail that. We got to nail those first 3 films, and then from there we'll do more. So I'm pretty focused on that, and then we'll have a lot of shows and documentaries on streaming and online that people can see too. And then the other big part of it, which sounds hilarious, is merchandising. Which there's 2 parts of this. One part is that George Lucas made most of his money through selling merchandising, and that's part of what made Star Wars such a big thing. And I would like to have more money to make more movies, as Walt Disney says, but also, I think if you make something that people want to buy and wear on their body, there's something there that is either you just bought it because it looks cool, which is actually the right way to do it. But then you go deeper and you realize that you're wearing sort of an armor, or you have you're representing yourself. And I always like to say, like, a huge part that like you're going to see more from Story in this next year is that there's no Nike for technology and science and engineering. Like if you like basketball, you can wear a Michael Jordan jersey or some ones. But if you like rockets, engineering, science, space, these sorts of things, there's nothing that cool you can wear other than maybe a SpaceX shirt. And so we want to find ways to make stuff that people can wear that represents their interests in a cool way and gets more people a part of the story. A huge part of it too is actually just getting more people working in these STEM spaces, whether on their own companies, at early stage companies, or at bigger companies. And we have some really exciting partnerships coming up with like actual jobs and hiring and employment programs, like big ones across the United States, where we're creating stuff with them in partnership with them, to like literally propagandize our country with, hey, you can change the future personally, and you should. And you don't just have to be really good at math in like 8th grade to have a great career in STEM, or to have a real strong voice and impact on the future. And so, I don't know, I kind of see it as a holistic thing.
after that plane ride and you're writing the script and everything, or you're writing things down and you're crying a little bit, what was the, what happened? Like, what were the next steps on actually making this thing real?
How like long of an answer do you want? Like, do you want the full
We
production
could do
story?
we could do the full production story.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
Let me water up. So I mean, we have a really great behind the scenes coming out a few days after the film comes out, and it doesn't tell the full like hell of production and the mistakes that I made that caused it. But I think your show should get that story. Yeah. So originally it was like, oh, so something people don't know about me who maybe have come to know me in the past few years for my like science engineering, like filmmaking, is I made like 20 short films in middle school, high school, won Best Visual Effects at the All-American High School Film Festival and got me a full ride to the University of Advancing Technology in Arizona.
I was watching Vacuum Wars before this.
Vacuum Wars, yes. Real ones know. Cloaker, pew, pew, it's so bad. But
it's pretty great for like, what was it,
14-year-old? Yeah, making the CGI as a 13-year-old, I'm not mad at that at all.
13-year-old,
and so I'd made a feature film and a half by the time I graduated high school. So I was like, man, narrative is easy. Like, it's easy. But I didn't realize that my muscles had atrophied for doing narrative. Like, I totally forgot a lot of the basic rules. So that was maybe March, April. Founded the company in July. And the sole 1-year goal of the company was create Planet. And the goal was originally to create it and have it out by the end of 2024. Didn't happen. And then and the issue is that like I decided it would be a good idea to not raise money for story and bootstrap it off of doing client work, ad revenue, partnerships and stuff. And so I'd say the first 6 months, 95% of my time was spent on just making sure we didn't go bankrupt and getting our core team, which is mostly people I've been making movies with since I was in middle school, set up, onboarded, relocated. Like, okay, we need an office. Okay, we need a printer. Wait, but we need Wi-Fi for the printer. Like, and like stupid things like this. Or like, okay, the camera and this camera accessory. No, we lost this camera accessory while we're filming and we still haven't found the replacement. All this kind of stuff. Like, we have supply chain issues as a film company, which is hilarious.
I remember Steve Jobs talking about like, you have to get the coffee maker and you have to get the, pencil sharpener and everything. It's just starting a company.
Before you do it, it's nothing. Yeah. And like, but it actually, all of that in aggregate, and also you're going bankrupt is like really, really pushes the limit of it.
You were default dead.
Default dead, and just focused on. Yeah, I remember the first day we signed our first big retainer contract with like some folks that we were making videos for, and we thought it was like just the biggest thing ever. And now we sign contracts like that all the time. But it's just to say, like, if you really lean in and focus on serving your customer really well and making them great stuff, how quickly the business can scale, and that people are wanting to pay that amount because they are excited about the services and the value you're bringing, which is awesome. So it's that, trying to keep S3 going and convert S3 away from being something that I made to that a team of people made, which was just really hard. And so as a result, I had very little time to write the script. And it was August, then October, September. I said the order wrong.
And at this time, like, how many employees do you even have to pull this all off?
4, 5, 6 around that time. So we've ended up hiring we were hiring about once a month. Now I think we're at 2 a month, which is terrifying. And we're really starting to scale in a big way, which is scary, but it's really good. And I think actually like the core team is doing such a good job managing and leading the new folks. And the new folks are coming in with like all this excitement. They're not burnt out yet. They don't know how hard it's going to be. Well, some of them do, but then like they hear the war stories of like the first kind of year. And it's just so it's cool. It's cool to watch as someone like you who studied company culture and building to actually get to do it is like, wow. I mean, like literally you got your team sitting here and it's like your first year. It's like, it's just life-changing and it's awesome. And it's awesome to be either the founder or just a member of the early team. It's so special. And I feel like everybody in life should try it once. Maybe bigger companies are for you, but like you should try being in a small company early days once because it is life-changing and the amount of ownership, agency, and belief in yourself you get is huge. Unless you're the founder, then you think you're the dumbest person on the planet. And so can I write the script? And then finally I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And I kind of got a first draft done in November. I was like, this is good. But I was like, my rule is like, you want to write, forget about it for 2 months and come back to it with fresh eyes. And I knew that there wasn't the time to do that. And so I remember did a V2. I thought it was great. I didn't show it to anybody. I've now learned that for me in my process, showing my writing to other people that I trust as a creative collaborator and getting their feedback on it is so important for me now. Like I show like 8 people a script now, all sorts of different folks, professional writers, script consultants, people on my team. and I really you craft
You have
it,
to
but
like really focus on or figure out who do you trust. in
yes,
that.
it is
Yeah,
about who
yeah,
you
yeah.
trust. It's not about like, oh, this is the most credentialed writer in Hollywood and they liked it. No, it's like, yeah,
Stuff that you like admire personally and like I respect your work or something.
I respect your work or your taste.
Okay.
Like, does this resonate with you? Or if it's about a subject matter, you need to talk to the people who, are in the subject matter field. And so on that level, I felt covered because we had done S3 for a year. And I was like talking to engineers and scientists all the time. But then I remember kind of going to my chief of staff, Maxie, one day and being like, okay, who's also our producer. And I was like, okay, it's end of November. What if we just said we were going to film the movie the last week of the year before Christmas in 3 weeks? Could we pull together the production stuff we need to do it in time? And she was like, fuck no, absolutely not. Get out of here. And I was like, no, we can do it. Just try it. Give it your all for a week. And if it's not good, we'll can it. End of the week goes by and I'm like, we can't do it. Now she's flipped and she's like, we're doing it. And I was like, okay. And then I did a big rewrite, which threw off our production plans a little bit. And we filmed last week of December. The moment the film really was like, oh, we got it. And this is always how it's been for me with fiction, is like the moment you cast the lead. And we went through, I think, 2,000 audition tapes, where it's really cool. Casting websites are awesome. You literally like post the size of the script pages and then you have people read for them and submit them. And when Stephen Miller, our lead, who's going to be here tonight, we're going to do a panel after this right here, sent his side in, I was like, oh, this is like,
obviously the right guy.
This is the guy. This is Dr. Everin Khan. And what was interesting is that the other main character, Alex Platt, also auditioned to be Dr. Everin Khan, but he wasn't old enough. Well, at the time we didn't know how old he would be, but we realized he wasn't quite old enough. And then we ended up casting him as the second character, Grease, who the movie really hinges on in a way. And that was a big moment. We, Andrew, a really talented filmmaker on my team, who's made 4 now, awesome short films and is probably going to do a feature film soon, like convinced me that we should hire a director of photography, because I'd never done that. I normally like DP and direct and first AD on my sets, which if you're a running gun filmmaker is normal, but if you're like professional filmmaker is very strange. And I was like trying to save money. We were still very broke at that time. And I was like, no, like every like $100 like we need right now, we have to do it by the end of the year. And then we got to like forget about the movie for a month or two, get back to client work to like get our money back up. And, Andrew convinced me that we should hire a really great DP. So we hired this guy named Emil, who's done amazing work. He's, I think, the best narrative DP in the Bay Area. And he came in like 4 days before the movie started filming. And we toured the Jewish Contemporary Museum, where we filmed a lot of the spaceship scenes, the Palace of Fine Arts, all this stuff, and planned it. And it was awesome because it let me focus on the acting and directing of the actors while he handled the lighting. And the film just looks beautiful as a result of him and his work, and our gaffer, Matt Stoops, and everyone. So we filmed intensively. The night before production, I got sick. And I got sick a lot during S3, but I hadn't been sick since starting the company. So I was sick the entire time we were filming. I had a bottle of NyQuil or Dayquil, and I went through a bottle a day. I was just sipping it. I felt like a rapper. It was like dirty Sprite, but it was the orange Dayquil.
Oh my God.
And it was powerful.
Feeling on top of it, but also horrible at the same time.
It was horrible. And then, and it's also the biggest set I've ever been on. We had like 20, 30 people every day, huge crew, big like lighting rigs and setups. And that's why the movie looks so good. And of course that ended up making the lead sick on the second to last day of filming, which was tough. So he had to give the speech scene, like half of the scenes of this movie, Steven's in, he's sick.
Wow.
It was just so hard as an actor. I felt so horrible and like, it sucked. We wrapped the movie and then I basically got the worst editor's block of all time, which is weird because I'm a really good editor. And it was because the story wasn't baked all the way. And it just wasn't, there was like, in retrospect, very obvious things that were wrong about the script. And I immediately was like, oh, I haven't made a fiction film in like years, and I forgot a lot of the basic rules. Shit. So I couldn't like make meaningful progress. I did the initial assembly cut of the film in a week. So we went from all the footage to a 47-minute cut of the film in a week, but it wasn't great. And I thought it was just going to edit front to back and it was going to be good. And then that was going to be it. But that's not what happened. And then we were just trying to make the business survive. We basically were actually broke in January. Definitely one of those like, oh.
I know that vibe.
Yeah. You do. This is a good lighting setup. It's not too expensive. This is a good lighting setup, Ty. So we focused on getting the business back on track. And then we had some major contracts land that like really secured our future for a few years. And so we're like, okay, we're back, but plan it. what are we doing there? We got to finish it. And so, we started making really good progress on the CGI. We hired Clay Welch, who worked at Pixar for 25 years, to come on as the concept director, which was a dream for me because ever since I was a little kid, I was like, man, one day, like last night, I was with Clay in the office at 4 a.m. as we were finishing the movie, looking at him and like apologizing that we were there and thanking him. And he's like, no, man, this is like the coolest thing ever. And then, I told him, it was like when I was a little kid making vacuum wars in my room and doing the rotoscoping for a week, I dreamed of one day getting to be able to work with artists like as talented as him, who like were industry veterans. It was just such a full circle, like 10 or 15 years later for me doing that, but now with a guy that worked at Pixar for 25 years, responding to all my shitty notes and comments about how we could make the movie better. So it was really meaningful and special. But he, around March of 2025, he had kind of built the planet at this point, like, which you think it's like 3D, it's easy, but like there's a lot of concept direction and art direction about how you want to build the thing and how you want to make it look for the way that you're going to film it in CG. There's over 200 visual effect shots in the movie, which for a 35-minute movie is a lot. And I'd say about a third of them are easy. The other 2/3 are not.
And by not easy, like how much time per VFX shot?
That's a hard question. I would say the average is probably a few hours a shot, maybe.
So literally thousands of hours of VFX.
Yeah, like hundreds for sure. And like a large team kind of came on to do it at the end. So then anyways, I convinced Andrew, who I mentioned earlier, to like take over the edit for me so I could just think about it from a story perspective. And originally we were like, he was like, we can fix the film without doing reshoots. And I was like, I think we need to like do pickup shoots, which to me, I used to bully directors for doing pickup shoots. It's like, you guys are so stupid. What, you didn't have your story planned?
You didn't have everything mapped out?
Yeah, you didn't, and neither did I. Okay. Planet was a humbling experience for me. And, but we did it. We figured out the story. We did reshoots 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. And one of the scenes we shot that we thought was the ending got cut because a month ago we showed the film for the first time and it's like rough state completion with no visual effects, maybe some like temp animations from Clay, to the team about 6 weeks ago. And everybody was like, this is really good, except the ending is just strange.
Just wrong.
Yeah, and the reason is because the ending was never meant to be the ending that we had designed. It was kind of a patch fix. So we thought really hard about it. And then we went back to like what the original script ending was supposed to really be and reworked from there. And we did another pickup shoot slightly after that, a quick one. And in total, if you laid out like the scene and rough edit of every scene we did, we probably shot 70 minutes of scene over a 12-day production period, which if you multiply that by 2, it's a feature film. And it felt like that, and which was awesome. And like as a team, everyone on the team doing their different job to make that happen was huge and really like warmed us up for what's next for us, And so then about 5 weeks ago, we picture locked it, but not really. We, had a lot of things to change. And then basically the past 4 weeks was the visual effects sprint. Pretty much all 200 shots got done in the past 4 weeks.
And I just want to like highlight that this is being exported right now, an hour before the movie is like on screen.
I don't actually, let me validate that this is true.
Okay. It's
still exporting. Like, okay, so
an hour before the movie comes out.
Yeah, so my editor Andrew said ETA on the final. So the entire movie's done, but we were waiting on one visual effects shot from one contractor who's actually great. And they said 16 minutes ago, 10 minutes still exporting.
Wait, so that one shot, do you still have to like re-export the entire movie after that?
Yeah, but ironically, re-exporting the entire movie is really fast.
Okay.
Because it's all baked out, so it's really quick. It'll take like 3 minutes, and then they'll drive here, put it on the projector, and we'll be good to go. But yeah, so as we were doing this interview, actually got exported.
That's amazing.
And then we're going to premiere it tonight. And then we're going to we originally were going to release it tomorrow, but actually like the story in the movie and the narrative is like 100% locked, but there's like maybe 20 visual effect shots that I'd like to just like spruce up a little bit. So I think we'll take a few days to do that and then we'll release it online because it's like, on the one hand, I want to release it tomorrow morning and like feel the excitement of it and play off the 900 people here tonight, but also like this is going to last forever on the internet. And
you want to make sure you put it out the right way.
The 20 visual effect shots that are like almost there, like 8.5 out of 10, and we have the opportunity to make them 10 out of 10. So we want to take it. We've invested so much into getting here, time, money, that it's like, it's worth it to do it. So yeah, the cut that everybody's gonna watch tonight will never be seen again, which is really cool, I think. Although it's basically gonna be the same. Like, I don't think anybody in this theater will like go and watch the movie again and be like, it's different. But they might see a visual effect shot and be like, whoa, that's better. But it's in a good spot. It was a grind the past 2 days, but it is overall. I wanted to have the whole film completed in 6 months, and it ended up taking 9, which isn't that bad, all things considered. But we proved our production efficiency. We went from no pre-production plan to shot initial film in 4 weeks, casting in 2, initial post-production assembly in 1 week, full readout in 3 months, and then visual effects in about a month and a half. And I think the quality will speak for itself in that a big part of Planet is proving to Hollywood financiers that we can be trusted with a big boy budget to make a film like this at a bigger scale. Because it's not like a normal short film. The rigor that you have to have with working with the CG team and the live action team in every department is totally different for a film of this scale, visual scale and production scale, than like a not visual effects heavy film, which there are very few today that are, but where it's not like, we're building a planet in space for most of the movie. So we think it proves that, and yeah.
You're excited?
I'm excited.
Yeah. Do you think that you're going to be able to, you get to work with this guy that worked at Pixar for 25 years. Do you think that there's going to be a day where you get to work with George Lucas or Steven Spielberg or any of those other guys on a movie together?
Well, we have some exciting news coming up pretty soon. I mean, yeah, I don't want to jinx anything, but like, I hope very soon. I think that I've been studying a lot recently, like, how directors end up collaborating through their careers, because it's different. Like, George Lucas had this really interesting relationship with Francis Ford Coppola, and they tried to kind of build the new Hollywood mecca in San Francisco and the Bay Area to greater or lesser success. That whole time, him and Spielberg were best friends. Spielberg ended up directing Indiana Jones. That was George Lucas's original concept. And these guys are just like going back and forth. Like, George Lucas proved with ILM, George Lucas built this company ILM to make Star Wars, and then Steven Spielberg came around and made one of the best movies of all time, Jurassic Park, with ILM. So the collaboration that happens with like directors is really exciting. And yeah, there's so many things that I would love to do with these guys. One of my dreams is actually to do, because I did a lot of interviews like this with engineers and documentaries, and I really thought hard, and I was like, I don't like interviewing. I'm not as good at it as you, and I want to only do things I really enjoy and can excel at. But there's one more interview series I want to do in my life, and it will be with, we're actually filming the first episode of it with a pretty big director next July, because he's filming a big movie right now. We think we're going to call it Masters of the Movies or Masters of Cinema, and film like 4-hour interviews where it'll be kind of like this, but I'll have like an IMAX screen up, and I'll have their movies open, and I'll just go through the film and ask them questions about like shots. And
is it like John Husay or whatever? He like goes through a video with the creator of the video.
I don't like that, but more, it'll look really cinematic. It's going to be long and uncut. And it's really about, the way I see it is that these people, these storytellers, have changed the fabric of our society. And there's basically no good interviews with these people. Like, find me a Relentless quality interview with any of these great directors. It doesn't exist. And for a while I was like, oh, it must be because they're cagey and they don't want to like reveal their secret sauce. But I'm like, that can't be true. And I think, so that's a dream I have, that we're going to film an episode of that next July with a pretty big name. And I want to do that more. And so we'll see. The way I broke into the technology and science industry was by making like films for these companies. And maybe that's how we'll do it for Hollywood too, is us doing interviews with these directors, and then that'll help us out. But that's not why we're doing it. It's just like, yeah, so I hope so.
What have been the biggest like weaknesses for yourself personally that you've learned about? Like, even the watching $100, like I kind of thought about it too. And I'm like, okay, I could, I could not hire someone and just do it myself.
Yeah.
But the amount, if I just like get more momentum through this new hire, suddenly I can just pay for the hire because of the new momentum.
Yeah.
So what have those types of things been for you, where you are like, feel very strongly that you don't want to do something, and then you changed and we're like, oh my God, I'm so happy that I did that?
One of them is getting comfortable spending money, which you can only do once you have a little bit of it. But spending, and it's not that you spend a lot of it like flippantly, but that you do it as efficiently as you can, and you hire great people to do great work. And I think for film, I think a movie is kind of the master art form, because it includes almost every other one. Even painting. For example, tonight, there's a 7-foot painting of Planet in the lobby. I haven't even seen it yet. My dad painted it. I'm very excited to see that freaking painting. There's a bronze statue out there that's in the movie, made by a bunch of French guys. They made that thing in 2 weeks and shipped it to France. We got it 3 days ago. We shot the last shot of the movie 2 days ago. But my point with like film being a master artwork, or like the one to rule them all maybe, is that, well, it has such huge societal impact, but also it requires an army and a village to do one. And you want the best people, or the best people at a given thing. Like, for example, we like filmed one of the best swordsmiths in the world recently for a project, and he made all the swords for Pirates of the Caribbean. He like made us a sword that we got inscribed with our motto in Latin on it. And like, we, spent 4 hours with him talking about like what the swords in our sci-fi trilogy will look like and how they will be different. Like, how do you do, like Lucas did the lightsaber. Do you go farther than that? We have an idea. But like, I don't think it'll be as cool as a lightsaber, to be clear, but it will be like, you watch him and be like, that's an awesome sword concept. Not as cool as a lightsaber. But
not as original as an energy weapon.
Not as original as an energy. Well, no, the concepts are pretty good actually, but just like, it's not as iconic and cool. It's a glowing like glow stick that severs you the moment you come in contact with it. It's amazing. It's amazing that there aren't more bad accidents that happen in Star Wars. Oh shit, I dropped it and fell on it. Vroom, there's your feet are gone. Vroom, vroom. I remember, I'm going to throw some loving shade. I remember when I was working at Astronis, and every week or so they would do these all hands meetings. And some of the executives would get up on stage and they would talk to the whole company of 300 people. And on average, they would be so uninspiring. Like, and I remember like Christian or John getting up there and then being so tired because they like pulled an all-nighter, like they did like some crazy thing and they're exhausted or going through it. And they're just kind of like, just a little tired. But when you're on stage in front of 300 people, like someday, my point is that I remember seeing that and thinking like, man, when I'm the CEO of my company, I'm going to be so inspiring every single day.
I'm going to bring all the energy.
I will honestly tell you, if Astronis' all hands were 8 out of 10, mine are probably have been 2 out of 10. Like, horrible. Like, I thought being inspiring and like, hell yeah, let's go do this movie and make this thing. I thought it'd be so good at that. I was like, I'm natural born for this. No. Like, when you're tired, the bank account's running low, you think you're an idiot for like convincing a bunch of people to make this movie and like the story's not working, it's crap. You're like, you're just depressed. And you're like, I don't like, and you're supposed to be the guy that like, the guy or gal that is like, yeah, this is like my vision and let's go make this thing. And then you're like, I don't believe in it right now. We got to fix it. So learning like.
Were there moments during that production process where you literally woke up and were like, what the fuck am I doing?
No, because I don't know. When I go into production mode, I kind of become like, I go into a different mode. And it's because I've done so many production days. I think in my life, I've been on 700 to 800 production days. And so when I'm on a production day, and most of the 700 to 800 production days are guerrilla scrappy days where I'm doing a lot and my friends or close people are doing a lot. And the amount of weight you carry has hardened me so that it's like, if it's a production day, it's like, it's wartime and you're just like locked in and you're making it happen. You're up at 4 a.m. and you're asleep at 11 p.m. and then you're doing it the next day. And that's why you get sick. So no, during production, there is no doubt. It's like, we're doing this and it's going to be the best thing ever. That comes in post-production.
You need to execute so much that there's no like time to think.
No, yeah, exactly. In post-production, that's where you start. I think Steven Spielberg has a quote about like your first rough cut. You always think you're the worst director of all time. Totally true. It's never not been true for me, to feel that way. And, so that definitely comes in. And one thing too, that I learned that was really unique, I think an interesting thing for your audience too, is that like, I did S3 for like a year and a half and I thought I like knew how to run a company as a result. I was like, oh man, like I have more inside knowledge on how to build a deep tech engineering company than anyone in the world does. Which is probably true. I think I know more about how deep tech companies work than most investors do, which is like kind of a cocky, precocious thing to say. And I don't mean it that way. I just mean like, I've actually spent time, serious time with these people, helping them solve problems, working for them, getting paid by them. And I think understand it really well. And I was like, oh, I got this. First of all, the moment you step in actually doing the thing.
Turns out it's actually hard to make decisions.
Yeah, turns out it's hard to make decisions. Everything goes out the window. The second thing that was the biggest trip and took me like 7-8 months to figure out was that I'm not building a deep tech company. I'm building an art company. The rules of the game are different. The way you push people and motivate people is different. The way that you compensate people is different. The way that you build a team and a culture is different. The way that you decide what you're working on, there is no spreadsheet of optimizations for the rocket or for the nozzle or for the bearing that you're designing for. There is no physics objective truth. It is a
It's
matter.
very fuzzy.
It is a
Yeah.
matter of the soul. Like, are you creating art that resonates? And it's a different recipe for every single different artist, and you have to go through that journey. And the only way you go through that journey is by starting and making things. And so I think that was a big one. And like, I remember for the first 6 months, I had so much resistance of like, oh, what would like my friend Cameron do, or like what would Augustus do in this situation? And sometimes it was the same, but oftentimes it was like, actually, it's different. Like, I like the way that I should approach this should be a little different.
When I talked with you all the way back in our first meeting, and I was basically saying like, I'm interviewing these founders and I want to interview you and all this stuff. And you kind of, and even in a few other interactions, you said that you didn't love doing S3 and you didn't love doing the interviews. And I'm wondering how you felt during that time and how you're kind of feeling now, and what that transition is like.
I loved S3 for a lot of the time. By the end of it, I was like, oh, I'm sick of this, because it felt like I had created some like monster that was like part of the venture ecosystem, and like companies were trying to line up their releases to like get fundraising or things like this. And it just kind of became this like, it became like part of the startup industry in a bad way. And I didn't like that. And I was burnt out by then because I was the only one doing it for a week every year with a full-time job at Astronis, which was like a startup job. So it was insane. And then the interviews, I never liked doing the sit-down interviews as much because I never got to prep them the way that you do. I never got to like them very well. And we were filming the interview after filming a documentary episode for 4 to 6 hours.
So you're exhausted.
So you're exhausted. Yeah. And you also feel like you're just really asking for a lot of time from people. Like even today, we're like only doing 45 minutes. But like, it'd be like 4 to 6 hours. So it's just the whole thing. And like the logistics of that were tough. So I guess like, at the end of the day, like one of my like tried and like rules that I deeply believe in for creative folks is like, you have to really love or believe in what you're making. And you have to figure out how to do that by whatever means necessary, whether you're changing what you're making or changing your perspective on things, or just refining it, kind of like a sculpture or something. So for me with S3, I knew I loved the science and the engineering part of it. And then it turns out what I really liked was the getting into the concepts and the theoretical stuff with folks and unpacking that and learning about that. And I loved the process of learning that myself and sharing that learning with other folks by making these videos. But I didn't like the like startup industry grind thing as much. And so yeah. So today, I don't know, like if the question is like, how am I feeling overall? It's like, I think the biggest thing I've learned in the past year is like the value of focus. And, you know, up until now, 15 months in for Story, we've been like an everything company. Like we've done so many different things in multiple projects at once, but we can now afford in the next like month, basically. Like when I get back in the studio on Monday, it's trilogy time. Like that's all I'm focused on until that thing is out in theaters. And if it's not that, it's hiring people and building a great team to work on our other projects that I care about, like the other stuff, because we have other shows and other things we want to make, because I want to see them in the world. But there has to be a line between like, what would you die for in terms of what you're making? And it's hard because if you're a passionate person like me, you can get passionate about a lot of stuff, but then you have to pick like, what's the one thing though that will never be touched by that stuff.
It feels,
about it.
This almost feels like even your transition from S3 to this, and now moving on to more of this like kind of timeless content, feels like a march towards timelessness. Where you basically you don't want to make something. I even hate it. Yeah. Well, I don't want to make a
it sucks when you do an interview or a documentary and then the company goes out of like business like a year later or something like that. Happened a lot for us, and it was like, oh, like that sucks. And so like you want to make time with stuff, 100%.
Yeah, and there's another thing where it's like I'm trying to interview like this founder because I think they're super special. I don't want to make something that helps them like pitch and raise the next round or announces around.
Well, because it's like what I love about what you're doing is like you're building this archive of people when it's like what you want to do, or like what I want to be able to do is go find an early founder. Like I want this, but for like an early Lucas or an early Elon or an early Jobs or whatever. And it's just this like unfiltered thing. And it's like, it's not about getting a ton of views all the time. It's not always about like a cultural mission to change something. It's sometimes just about capturing the authenticity and following your passion, which you do so well. And I think that's
It's been a lot. It's kind of interesting because it's been like it's not necessarily optimized for growth. Like if you go after much bigger names, it's significantly more growthy. Lots and lots of people want to listen to Sam Altman talk.
Yeah, totally.
But in the event that any one of these people goes and takes over the world, I would really like to have this documented growth where, you know, in year 1, what do they look like? What do they think like?
Yeah, and that's what I want to do
year
S3
2,
too.
Year 3, year 4,
exactly.
year 5. And I think that's really special.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Let's end it on like, what are you most excited about?
The trilogy.
Just the trilogy.
I'm excited about, creating a cinematic universe has been my dream since I was a kid. We've been working on it now for 8 months, actively working on it. There's art development. There's 3D models, like physical ones in our office. There's a lot of writing. One thing that was cool is like while we were in editing Hell for Planet, I was waking up the next morning and for 4 hours every morning writing and immediately remembering, don't make that mistake again because otherwise you'll be in this hell times 100 because that's how much bigger the budget and the scope and the risk will be. And so that was an awesome way to write, was do it while you're like going through editing hell, really, because you get to escape. You're like, this will be so much better. Who knows? Maybe we'll do this interview again in 2 years and I'll be like, Ty, I did it again. It was the same mistake. And now this time we're sitting at like a different theater for the world premiere of a theater release film, and it's being exported. Matter of fact, let's get an update.
Is it exported?
Movie exporting, render time 11 minutes. So in 1 minute, the movie will be exported.
Amazing. Okay.
So actually it's kind of crazy. The ending of this interview is
yeah, literally the second that this interview. All right. I want to do a quick thing. Prediction for Jason in 12 months and 24 months. What are the biggest challenges that you would expect to be in front of you, so that when we do it, you'll be able to know?
In 12 months, it's going to be, if I have it my way, it's going to be convincing distributors and whoever finances this next movie to let us complete it and release it faster. Because normally movies take like a long time. I'd like to go a little faster. Or more realistically, we'll be in production hell. And it'll just be about making a great movie. And then also the biggest thing will be like, how can I be a full-time director making this film in this series, and then also having story working on its other productions and running really well? And the answer is simple, but I forget all the time. It's just have the best people in the world working on these things, and hire people that want to work on the things that they're working on, which maybe doesn't always matter for like an engineering kind of company or role. But for art, I think it really does matter a lot that you have people who like care about the subject matter or the thing as much as they can, and they're incredibly talented. I think that matters a lot, and a really good executive team and leadership team to guide that as we go make these other shows and things we're doing while I can focus on the trilogy. In 24 months, I hope it's me freaking out about how the sequel like is like how we make it better than the first one. But it's also very likely more realistically in 12 months we'll be in like pre-production hell, and in 24 months the movie will be coming out, but I'd like to have it be before then. But I think that'll be the most difficult stuff. And then a year ago for me, focus was really hard. Like I was like, is the sci-fi trilogy or this cadence like am I sure that's what I want to do? Now it's like after 9 months of just like getting beat over the head, the focus and the like, this is what we're gonna do just like comes in really well. But I'm trying to think what else it'll be. Money's probably always gonna be a challenge. We're in a great spot right now, so I actually shouldn't say that, but I just like, I'm a paranoid person about it. And I'd like to continue to be. And I don't know. I'm actually pretty optimistic about it for once. I feel like normally I'm like, it's gonna be bad, but
me too.
I feel pretty optimistic.
Literally this morning, for the first time ever, I think we've got like 6 months of runway.
We are so back. That's a powerful feeling.
It's a very good feeling.
Fuck yeah. Hell yeah. Cool.